Hello, and welcome to TechWatch, the EdTech video news program produced by eSchool News. I'm Laura Devaney. Here's part 2 of our interview with author Dan Pink, who discusses how schools must change to meet the changing needs of employers. eSchool News assistant editor Maris Stansberry has the story.
Dan Pink, who's hot on the education circuit this year, recently sat down with me to discuss his theory on why employers are demanding new skills from their employees.
Have you read Cousin's their brief? They actually went to Scandinavia to look at how they're scoring higher on the PISA test. What did you think about that?
Well, I think if you look at Finland, for instance, it validates that, especially that point about autonomy, which is very good. Especially the point about autonomy, and there's some interesting when Westerners come back or Americans, not Westerners, when Americans come back and look at, say, that system, they say, well, wait a second, they treat teachers like entrepreneurs, not like assembly line workers. What a novel concept! And if you think about the autonomy that the kids have, it is extraordinary. And even something which I think is very telling, even something, and it's controversial, even something like internet filters.
Right.
Something like that, which basically says, you know what, we're not, do what you need, find what you need to find. And so the idea that you have talented adults basically focusing not on what kids learn, but on, boy, can we keep out this, can we keep out that, which is essentially a futile effort. And the truth is, as anybody will tell you, the kind of salacious stuff that kids inevitably look at, if they're not looking at it at school, they'll look at it at home or look at it at a friend's house, it gets boring after a while. And so all you've done is made it more alluring. And so all of those things, I think you're exactly right, Maris, especially that notion of autonomy. It's very present in that system, and they're outperforming the United States.
Pink also believes that along with new practices come new forms of assessment.
There are some new metrics out there that I think are interesting. So you have, the Rainbow Project done by Robert Sternberg now at Tufts, which is an alternative SAT that measures some of these things, and some very interesting results on that show it being a better predictor of college grades and these more left brain assessments. You see something in medical schools like the Jefferson Scale of Physician Empathy, which is a test to measure physicians' empathy, and it shows a nice correlation between scores on that index and patient outcomes, and no correlations with more left brain measurements, which makes sense, I think, because once you've gotten to medical school, you probably have the analytic chops to be an okay doctor. But what makes you a really good doctor are some of these things that are not algorithmic reasoning. It's more aesthetic, emotional, contextual reasoning.
Finally, Pink theorizes about when important changes in education will occur.
I don't think that schools are going to suddenly change and be, paragons of the conceptual age tomorrow at all. Again, I think it's partly a systemic problem, and I think you take any kind of institution that's large enough and enduring enough, and it's very, very hard to change. But we also need to think about how change often happens, and it often doesn't happen in a linear way. It happens in a non-linear, more explosive way. And so you have a lot of people complaining, a lot of people complaining, a lot of people complaining, this isn't right, this isn't right, this isn't right. And then suddenly the sound starts getting heard and things change quickly. So I'm optimistic that we could hit a point where you have nothing happening, nothing happening, nothing happening, nothing happening, boom!
Right.
A lot happening. I don't know if that will happen. I actually think that will happen. I'm not sure whether that time period is 2 years, 5 years, 10 years,
Right.
a generation.
ESN TV, your #1 source for video news and information from North America's leading EdTech publications, from the world's foremost EdTech website, the eSchool News Network, America's EdTech authority. Watch ESN TV. Encounter the field's most fascinating personalities, the innovators who are turning the old school into the e-school. Watch ESN TV. Meet notable educators, advocates, and leaders. Watch ESN TV. Get real-time coverage of EdTech's most important gatherings. Stay up to the minute. Get the EdTech news and information you need to succeed. Watch eSchool News TV.